What is going on, everybody? Back at you again with this another episode and edition of this Move the Chains podcast with your man and the host, Sam McIntyre. We're doing well today on this terrific, beautiful fall Sunday. Finally, fall is here, thank God. I know I'm recording this podcast really late today. I've been running around trying to get stuff done. But I wanted to talk about today is the two college games that I watched last night. I saw a little bit of it. Shout out to my brother Jackson McIntyre for his birthday. Good job, brother. I love you. Great night last night. Had a lot of fun. And I kind of was catching an eye on that, on the Miami-Florida State game, because obviously I'm watching Cam Ward because of Raiders need a quarterback bad. And then I also wanted to watch LSU and A&M last night at Kyle Field. What a great sight for a college football game. That's what college football's king right now. The pageantry, everything just feels so cool to me. I want to go down to an SEC game really bad, a Georgia, a Tennessee. I need to go to Neyland really bad, see my cousin Alex and Andrew, obviously. Shout out to his wife, Alicia, who's a nurse and went to UT. So I'm really excited for that. I wanted to get on here today, though, because I usually do pro football, but I always love college, too. Shout out to Wisconsin, Notre Dame. Notre Dame beat the shit out of Navy yesterday. That's hard to do. But Notre Dame, good for them. They got no room for error now. They got to do something. In this 12-team now playoff, obviously. And then Wisconsin, I don't know what to make. I mean, it's kind of hard. They're kind of limited what they can do, especially academic-wise. And they kind of just dabble in it a little bit, but not too much with the NIL. So, before I recorded this, I watched Richardson, who just, oh my God, it's just, he's just like a nightmare. He's 2 of 15 passing so far. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me with all his gifts. But the other thing is I got to put into perspective, he's only played 17 total games in his career. My dad goes, no, yes, played whole year of Florida, and then whatever it was last year, and then now this year. And I want to like the Colts. I really love Chris Ballard. Shout out to Wisconsin. I want to like the Colts, but it's just hard with this kid and his talent. So, let me start off with last night's two games. I wanted to dive into both. I want to dive into, though, Florida State and Miami, the rivalry in the Sunshine State last night, which was a cool sight to see at Hard Rock. That place was rocking, with green and orange going on, and Florida State, who just, again, I've heard Mike Norvell on one of my podcasts that I listen to, and he's a really sharp guy. He's done a nice job building that program. Now, again, I don't think it's hard to build a program like Florida State, for crying out loud. Good God, you got IMG Academy in your backyard. So, Florida should not have problems getting talent. That's not the issue here. And, Florida State fans, I know you don't want to hear it. But, again, like, it was last year. You got jobbed. I get it. I felt bad. But you got to move on, dude. Now, again, they lost a lot of guys in the NFL, a lot of leadership. I get it. I'm not sitting here trying to make excuses. And you also dabbled in the transfer portal a lot. And in this state of college football, you can do that, but there's going to come consequence. You fuck around, you're going to find out one of my favorite quotes in life, and not just football. So there's a lot of things going on with Florida State. They got to get right. I mean, I think, obviously I think the right thing for them to do, is to kind of get, they made a right decision, benching DJ, and putting the kid in last night, who had some moments last night. I mean, he can move more than DJ. And maybe DJ, I don't know, I was a spur of the moment a couple years ago when they were playing Notre Dame. Obviously, that was Trevor Lawrence game that he was out. Notre Dame won, and then and then Trevor Lawrence came back. Yeah, he came back and beat the shit out of Notre Dame in that, in the ACC championship game, obviously, even though Notre Dame's independent, but, a lot of stuff ties to it. And then Trevor Lawrence obviously beat him. So, but when I watched that game that Saturday night, I remember I was working at Lowe's at the time, finishing up a shift, and then I ended up going to my buddy's house. And I was so mad I missed that game. Shout out to my manager, Mark Hoffman, who was telling me to score that game. But, besides the point, Florida State, or Clemson, that night with DJ. I sat back and I watched DJ. I go, holy shit, this kid is... I had John Middlecoff's next scouts the Eagles, and I listened to his pod. He's incredible. He's one of my favorite people to listen to. I try and get some different stuff from him. Obviously, you guys love my content. I'm going to keep putting more out. But just more stuff to kind of dabble with and stuff, to make this great. And he was talking, and he said once that DJ had, Cam Newton, Big Ben size with Cam Newton arm or Patrick Mahomes. I went, holy shit. And then we saw that slant route he threw. It was just, it was like a lasso. It was whap right there in stride, obviously, for the Clemson guys. So, But it just hasn't worked out. Now, DJ, I don't know what's going on. I don't think it's mental with the kid. I just think he's not it. I do this all the time. Prisoner of the moment. I go, holy shit. And then I look back and go, oh my God, I don't know what I was doing. So Florida State just had a bad year and a half. I mean, they're shitty right now. They're a fucking train wreck. They're a car crash waiting to happen. So, I don't know what to make of them. Maybe next year they get it back. I don't know. They lost a lot of guys that had a lot of leadership. Jordan Travis, their quarterback, Benson, the running back. They lost the 2 defensive linemen, Fisk and Jared Verse, who are now in the Rams now. So they've lost a lot. So I understand a little bit of why they're struggling. But the ACC, it's not like it's like a fucking gauntlet like the SEC is, or maybe kind of like the Big Ten right now. Indiana's balling. Shout out to all my Hoosier fans on here. Good for you guys. I mean, you're 8-0, and Kirk Cagnetti's doing a remarkable job at getting this program. And listen, he's kind of like Kalen DeBoer, man. You don't fuck around, and he's won. So that's what I want to make of Florida State. And then Miami, I want the flip side. I am impressed with Mario Cristobal. Now, look, we could bang on Mario, a couple years ago, blowing that game where he should have needed it. And he's kind of got some bad self-awareness in terms of clock management. But, man, I listened to him on my other podcast yesterday with 2 ex-scouts, Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks, who Bucky Brooks played, obviously, in the league and was there with Green Bay, played for the Packers, Raiders. Let's go. And also played when he was with Brett Favre in Green Bay during his peak, during the 3 MVP runs that Favre had, and then obviously resulted in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. For Brett Favre, first one. Should have won the second one against Denver, but that's because Mike Holmgren's an idiot and shouldn't have went on his thing about, I'm going to go to Seattle, guys. Fucking dumb fuck. But anyways, besides the point, he was there. And then Daniel Jeremiah, obviously, shout, he's from the 260. Hey, 260, baby. Woo! From the 260, Fort Wayne's finest. So, I was hearing them talk, and I just think he's incredible. And they were talking about, what was I going to say? Oh, Cristobal. And I heard him yesterday, and I got some Dan Campbell vibes. And him being a former offensive lineman, you saw this at Oregon a lot. They were just a physical, just nasty football team that played with passion, that played with energy, bent-in rage. And you just saw it last night. I watched the highlights this morning before I got up in the morning, took my dog out, and then I watched it on my phone, the highlights from last night. The 14 minutes or whatever. And listen, I love Cam Ward. He's my guy. I know before the year started, I had Carson Beck as my guy. I still am with Carson Beck, but I'm out. I mean, I can't judge. I can't not see what I'm unseeing. Like, it just has not been great. They're asking him to do a lot more, which I understand. But it's Georgia. Like, you got to do a little bit more. And then Quinn Ewers I was sold on, and I'm kind of like, I don't know. So this quarterback draft's not great, but the guy that I love, and I'm telling you, and I know last night people can bitch about the stat line, and I understand it, but it was very efficient last night. They ran the football. Their defense was complimentary. Now, granted, it was Florida State, and it's a rivalry game. I get all that. Got to throw the records out. But last night, to me, that was a fucking dominating game by by Miami last night. Miami of Florida, excuse me. That, to me, is a Mario Cristobal team. And he's a physical, tough guy, former lineman. I love it. Everybody talks about, and I get the stats, flash, and the sizzle. I'm all for it. But my great late uncle Grandpa Mac told me this a long time ago. You got to win in the trenches. And the Lions have done, Mike Kesnick knows this, you know this better than anybody, buddy. They have done an incredible job at building both lines of scrimmage in Detroit. And you see it with Mario Cristobal's teams when they had Penei Sewell at Oregon. Now again, you could bitch and say, well, the offense was kind of weird at Oregon. I get all that. But they are a run the fucking football. That back last night, McKenzie, he is a fucking stud, man. And he's a stud. They got, their offensive line, that guard last night, he's a freshman. He's balling last night. Their offensive line at Miami is really good. And they've done a really great job of developing and getting those offensive linemen all on the same page to gel and work together. And Cam Ward played efficient football last night, which you had to do. Now, he didn't fuck it up. He's very good to me when I watched this morning, was that they brought a bunch of corner blitzes, Mike Norvell and that staff, and he got that ball out quick. He sensed pressure. Okay, bam, there you go. So very good quarterbacking last night if you're watching it from that perspective, which I was as a fan. I will say this, though. He's, to me, right now, is going to keep shooting up because I also heard that he's no bullshit. That's the kind of guy that I need for the Raiders. They got to get somebody like that. They need a playmaker. And he's bigger. I mean, he's bigger than I thought. He's 6'2", 223. I went, what the hell? This isn't big. And I look at it and I'm going, holy shit. Okay, there's something there. So we've got the physical traits, obviously, the arm and everything else. But behind the scenes, Cristobal said, quote, this kid is just all football, loves his teammates. There's no bullshit. It's just, I feel a vibe down there in Miami. And you got to be happy. Now, you're 7-0. Now, again, we got to wait till the dam breaks. At some point, got to lose a game, kind of face some shit. So that'd be my only concern with Miami, but very impressed with what I saw. This Mario Cristobal-led team. I always know what Cristobal's teams are like. Dan Campbell, the Lions, tough, physical, resilient, hitch in the fucking mouth. Let's go. Shout out to the U for getting your shit together because it's been a couple down years. Now you got something, the momentum. Hopefully you can get another quarterback next year that can kind of get this Cam Ward 7-on-7 feel vibe to it to get you back and obviously put Miami on the map ever since 2017, excuse me. So great win for the Canes last night. They still remain unbeaten. Florida State's got to go back to drawing board and figure something out and get ready to prepare for next year. So the other game I wanted to get to last night was the LSU at Texas A&M game in Texas Station last night. And that late night, I mean, I've heard SEC games are really great at night. Camp Randall, I've been there at night. Great game. I go back to Camp Randall again. One of my favorite memories. College stadiums I've ever been to. I've never been to Notre Dame. Obviously, I want to go. But I really want to go at night with Sanford, Georgia. I want to go see the T. There's so many things I want to do. Obviously, with this economy we're living in, Jesus fucking Christ. Hopefully everything slows down and goes down in price, and God help us. But last night to me, listen, I get. I'll start from LSU side of it. LSU's a really, really good football team, and they got dudes everywhere. They got 2 linemen that are gonna go top 10. Their defense got some dudes. Their receivers. I talked to Deaton about this a couple weeks ago, beginning of the month. In that Cowboy Giants game, on my live stream with Deaton, and him and I are both like, I'm laughing at these LSU fans thinking they were going to suck this year without 2 of their receivers. Have you watched? These guys are balling. I mean, Lacey's going to go first round. I mean, I don't know about slam dunk, but he's going to go first round in the first 30 picks, or maybe second. I don't know. From what I see, he's a first rounder. Fits every, chart to a measure. Got Anderson kid balled out last night on that one, breaking in route, and then the 2 safeties split, and they missed the angle, and it was gone. And I got to tell you something. The more and more I watch this Garrett Nussmeier kid, the more and more I'm thinking in my head going, this kid or Cam Ward, if I had to pick, that's a tough call. As GM, if I'm Tom Telesco, because I know Cam Ward brings a lot of fun and flair to it. I get it. But this kid, Garrett Nussmeier, last night, what I admired most about him, and I watched this morning, and listen, he threw 3 picks, and I get it. They sucked. Those picks were horrible. Now, the one that he's throwing, trying to make a play, get it, it happens. You got to be smarter. But I will say this, that kid kept fighting and fighting and fighting. And again, it just didn't go LSU's way. They gave up a lot in the run game. Their defense kind of got exposed last night, which is hard to believe with LSU. Their defense just doesn't have the big-name guys that I've seen in the past. The corners, obviously. They used to be cornerback U, it felt like, with Claiborne and Patrick Peterson, those guys. And in the front, in the front 7, they always said, dude. So, again, they're always going to have guys go in the draft. And, I think LSU's going to be okay. Listen, they're going to be really good. And they've only lost 2 games. Okay, A&M's a tough place to play at night. Notre Dame figured this out. It's loud down there, and it's a fucking circus. Now, they got to get better. And can we just please, and I'll get to Brian Kelly in a little bit, but that guy is such a good coach. I know he's not for everybody, but that guy wins, man. And I'm just so proud of the job he's done. And listen, it's not a hard job at LSU to do. I get it. It's more pressure. I get it. But, we could think what we want. But I'll get to him in a second with Brian Kelly. But I was more impressed with Nussmeier last night. Got to clean up the mistakes. He's a little bit gunslinger, but a lot of things I like. The pump fake and the eye recognition, manipulating safeties, seeing shit and all that. Got fooled on the one pick, when he trying to throw an out route. He had to stick to his guy, and they went to zone, just to kind of put it in football terms for people that don't understand. He covered a guy, and then he got off his guy, and then came back down and made the pick, obviously, on the little short, shallow crossing route. So he did some things that I liked last night, got to clean up the mistakes, but really encouraged by Nussmeier last night. And they were in that game for a lot of more big stretches of it, obviously, last night at Texas A&M. And then on Texas A&M's side, that coach has done an excellent job. Jimbo Fisher might be the biggest sleazy, scummy sack of monkey shit that I've ever seen. He's on that list with Urban Meyer. Oh, hold on, FM radio, Farad Meyer, come on down. Woo! Farad Meyer, back at it again. Beep, 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 beep. So, listen, Jimbo's a piece of shit, and I think he's overrated. I'm sorry, but you won one title at fucking Florida State with all that talent? Really? Not great. And, he's just kind of a piece of shit, doesn't care about academics, whatever. But this Mike Elko guy, and I didn't know a lot about him. And I was thinking about this today, what I was going to talk about with Mike Elko. I know he's from Duke. Grantson knows a lot about him, obviously, my buddy. But I didn't know a lot about Mike Elko, although I know he went to Duke and he was the defensive coordinator. I think he's done a terrific job. And I've heard he's kind of like this low-key kind of hire, not a brand, not a big name, not a brand, which is fine. And I'm all for new school and all this new shit. But I'm telling you right now, old school coaching is still getting it done. And I think that's how you have to coach. I get this new school, everybody's got to be accepted, all that bullshit. I got it. But I like old school coaches. Brian Kelly's, the Mario Cristobal's, this Mike Elko guy feels old school, tough, physical. They play hard and they play fast and they got a lot of things. And they fooled, LSU last night was flat-footed on a lot of those zone read stuff. The guy thought he was crashing down, and then he obviously gets on the back door on the trip on the zone read. So very encouraged by A&M last night. They're a program I think that could head in the right direction. Obviously, it's a gauntlet in the SEC, especially with Texas and Oklahoma added. But I got to be encouraged last night what I saw from A&M. Very good job by them to find Mike Elko, and he's done a nice job. And I think the trajectory is only going up for A&M. Obviously, they can recruit really well. When you're in Texas, you should. So, they're going to be, both these programs are okay. One of them is not dead, and another one's great. They're still on that, they're on that level of balance to me. Now, obviously, Garrett Nussmeier's got a big decision to make. Does he come out this year in the draft, or does he stay in? I'm not sure. If I was him, I don't know. I would probably go the latter and say he comes out. But I like to see him come out this year, and if the Raiders get a chance, take him second round, I would love it. Fits what they want to do. He's a big, tough kid with a good enough arm, can make all the throws. He's got good eye recognition, pumps once, bam. He's got a lot of shit I like. Now, I got to go back and watch some more tape on highlights, I'm not a scout where I get all the tape. I watch the highlights, but very encouraged by what I saw last night from LSU and Nussmeier, and A&M really looks impressive, fits the part compared to what they had with Jimbo Fisher. That was just kind of a jumbled mess. I feel like now there's finally some momentum and some traction and some unity with that Texas A&M program. And the last thing I wanted to say on here, and I'm glad you guys are joining me today. As always, I appreciate all the comments and likes, subscribes, and all that. But I got to give my flowers to Brian Kelly. I just, every year with this guy, I'm more impressed by him. Listen, he's not for everybody. I know the the Notre Dame thing started out shitty with the kid and the murder and all that stuff. But I will say this with Brian Kelly. That guy can coach. I think, I'll make this bold take right now, he wins a national championship soon, in my opinion. And I mean that. You guys can bitch at me all you want. This guy can coach. I think he's right there. I know he's got Bama, and they haven't played yet, depending on where it's at. But I'm telling you, this guy can coach. He's done it every program. He's like a Bill Parcells a little bit. Got that little sprinkle. He's done it he's done it at Cincinnati. Took him to the FCS, and they played Florida with Tebow. He's done it at Notre Dame. He's done it now with LSU. The last couple of years. So, Again, I think Brian Kelly's an excellent coach. He's hard on quarterbacks. I get it. So is John Gruden. And John Gruden's a screamer, and he's a yeller. He's got that chucky and the vibe and the snarl, and he's got that to him with Brian Kelly. But I admire the hell out of him. He's not everybody's cup of tea. I thought early on he was kind of doing a little bit too much with the Southern and, hitting the gritty and, throwing the one. I get it. But he's grown up. He's matured. He knows his role. He's staying true to himself. He's still got those Northeast roots where he's pissed and he's tense and he's got that kind of fire in him that I've always liked with Brian. He's a tough guy to play quarterback for. But the one thing I like about Brian Kelly is that guy keeps people accountable. He puts guys in the NFL. Their teams are always tough. They're physical. They hit you. They're explosive. He's explosive now. Their team's explosive now down at LSU, obviously. But when he was at Notre Dame, they had some explosives. So shout out to Brian Kelly. I just want to give him his flowers. And I really would take him over Lincoln Riley any day of the fucking week. I know Zach Alexander. I know you love LSU, brother. USC. But, man, I wish that Lincoln had more fire and more bark and that test and tense. And that's just not who he is. I get it. But I'm talking about Brian Kelly, but I just wish sometimes I saw Brian Kelly and I saw Ryan Day this week and get pissed. And I just wish sometimes that guy that screamer, that guy would come out and he puts like the, I am the warlock, by Probot that just gets me fucking jacked for arm day. Besides the point. But I'm telling you, they need some of that juice. They need some of that fire, that passion. And I don't see it with Lincoln. So, like I say every week, I just want to get on here and Brian Kelly his flowers. I think he's done a terrific job at LSU, and I think he'll continue to do that. So, like I say every week, hit the like, subscribe, share button. Tell your friends. Tell everybody. And more videos will be coming up soon. And I'll talk to you guys soon.